Greetings, ghouls, and welcome to another dive into horror television. Tonight we're taking a look at the episode Abra Cadaver from Tales from the Crypt. It's a fan favorite. Imagine spending your whole life training to heal the human body, only to have your own brothers steal that future from you. In Abra Cadaver, the scalpel becomes a weapon, the body becomes a prison, and revenge slices deeper than any surgical cut. Martin, played by Beau Bridges, and Carl, played by Tony Goldwyn, have quite a volatile sibling relationship. We open to them working late one night at the morgue. Martin is there to help Carl get through his work and finish his medical school training. Martin is going to be a surgeon one day. He seems like the smart one. Carl is taking his practicals next week, and he leans on his brother for help. They look through the bodies to try to find the cause of death, and all is fine until Carl begins looking at a beautiful woman who's so pretty he would turn necro for her. His words, not mine. The only problem is, when he touches her breast, the skin reacts like she's still alive. Weirded out by it, Martin explores the phenomenon, and she jumps alive and starts choking him. Then all his peers pop out. Turns out they were playing a mean joke on him for his birthday. What happens? No one could have predicted. Marty falls wheezing. He's having a heart attack. We flash forward and Carl is furious that Martin isn't taking the teaching position that Carl stuck his neck out to get for him. Martin isn't interested in teaching. Remember, he wanted to be a surgeon. That's now off the table since his heart attack. Instead, Martin has been doing research. Carl plans to cut off the funding since they haven't seen results yet. Martin offers him a drink and wants to show him what he's been working on. Martin took a trip to Haiti, and what he found is out of this world. It's very neat. His research is based on voodoo rituals. Carl is furious that he's been wasting time on this, but Martin swears he's found that the brain remains viable long after clinical death. Freaky. He shows his brother two dead bodies that still show brain activity. Carl thinks this is a bunch of baloney. Before you know it, Carl's dying on the floor. The drink Martin gave him was spiked with his new creation. His brain still works, but his body stops moving. He's dead. We wonder what it's like to feel dead. We can hear Carl's internal monologue still, and we see that his heart has stopped beating. Martin tells us that touch is the first sense to go. Before long, Carl starts to panic, but there's nothing he can do but enjoy the ride. We meet a man with a thick accent named Mitch. He's going to help process the cadaver. First, they go and hang Carl's body in the meat locker using a big hook in his back. They cut him open with a knife, then they go right into his hunch with the hook before hanging him up. All the while, we can hear the terrified pleas of Carl that no one else can hear. The meat hook gives out and Carl winds up on the floor. Martin comes in while smoking a doobie. He even shares some with Carl. He's very polite like that. It won't kill him. What's done is done. They put him on the embalming table as they prepare to drain the blood from his body. Carl can't feel anything. The sensation of touch is completely gone. We see blood pumping out of his body through a tube, and we hear it dripping into the sink. Martin checks in on his dead brother. Martin's changed his mind and took the teaching job. He brings the students in the room to learn. As he prepares to saw his skull open, Carl is screaming that he can feel again and to stop. Carl watches as they carve into his head like a Thanksgiving bird. As they pull his brain out, he jolts up from the table. His head is fine. His brother tells him that he had a heart attack and then injected a drug into him that preserves brain function even when an injury or heart failure kills you. That's the drug he's been working on. Martin swears he was never in any real danger. Carl is impressed with his brother's work, but just a second later, Carl goes down. He's having another heart attack. They quickly inject another dose of the strange drug into his body as they start doing CPR on him. A new set of morticians arrive to perform a real autopsy. We hear Carl's voice. He's still aware of what's happening. He can feel everything as his internal monologue screams on in pain. The real terror comes from being conscious but powerless, awake but immobile, alive within a body that no longer obeys you. The ability to move, choose, and react is central to maintaining a coherent sense of self. When you remove agency but leave consciousness intact, you create panic without release and awareness without protection. It's the perfect conditions for psychological torment. Philosophers like Merleau-Ponty argue that the body is not something we have, it's something we are. Our body is how we inhabit the world, how we experience time, how we understand ourselves. So when the episode traps a living mind inside a dead, motionless body, it's not just physical horror, it's a total collapse of being. The self can't reach the world can't reach the self. The body, once a home, becomes a prison. This is existential horror at its purest. The trope of being alive inside a dead body goes back to Gothic literature. Think premature burials, cursed consciousness, souls trapped in corpses, bodies refusing to die. In those stories, the horror comes from the disillusion of boundaries. It's death without heaven, life without freedom, ultimately a coffin made of skin. What hurts most is the irony. A surgeon, a man whose life centered on hands, precision, motion, is condemned to total immobility. All his power, all his status, all his training, erased. He becomes the opposite of who he was. This episode was a scary good time, and I'd rate it an 8.5 out of 10. This was an interesting and unique plot that worked great. This story is traumatic. Imagine your body becoming your tomb. The living body becomes an instrument of torture. The surgical tools act like ritual objects. It's all very well done. What makes Abra Cadaver so memorable is the cold, sterile hospital setting, combined with tight close-ups that trap the viewer in the same claustrophobic paralysis the main character feels. The director, Stephen Hopkins, directed Predator 2 and A Nightmare on Elm Street: The Dream Child, and this was the writer's only writing credit, but they did great work here. Descartes imagined, "I think, therefore I am." Tales from the Crypt answers, "You think, and that's the curse." Until next time, be well and stay spooky.